Hi there. Welcome to The Guilty Knitter. I'm Vivian and I'm coming to you from Montreal, Canada. And this is a knitting podcast, as you may have guessed. And if you are a new viewer, welcome. And if you've been back a few times, I really appreciate you coming back. It's been about a month since I podcasted the last time. It just got really busy in October and I didn't have a chance to record. So yeah, now that things have eased up a little bit, I thought, well, I'll take the opportunity today to record because my husband is out, which makes things easier when he's not wandering back and forth. And yeah, so I'm going to take this quick hour before I have to head out for a 60th birthday party for a friend of mine, which is a lunch. It's kind of an odd thing. I figure they must be well, I know they're non-drinkers. I figure that's why they have lunch parties. Does that seem jaded on my part? I don't know. Anyway, but I think it'll be really nice. But we are headed out there around noon. It's been snowing in Montreal, which is a bit early. It's cold and snowy. But I have to say that it's such a relief from the grim dreariness of the gray November that we were experiencing before that. I must say that it just yesterday when I woke up and saw the snow, it lifted my spirits because the whole world is just brighter and it makes it so much better. I can't believe how much it helped my overall, I don't know, just feeling of bon ami, you know. So yeah, I don't mind the snow, I guess. The only problem is that we don't have snow tires on our car yet. Yeah, we definitely should not have put it off. We always put it off. It's always a big scramble. Whatever. Anyway, we'll get that done eventually. So what else did I want to say? Oh yeah, if you want to find me on Instagram, which you're welcome to do, I am at Guilty Knitter. And on Ravelry, I'm The Guilty Knitter, and I also have a page over there for any comments or questions. And I will probably put any links that are relevant below the video because I just don't know that it's worth putting all the show notes over on Ravelry. Anyways. If you have any questions, you can certainly go over there. You can introduce yourself. I'd love to. If you're a new viewer, it'd be nice to see where you're from and and what you think of the podcast. It's I mostly devote I'm just talking about my projects and my whips, my FOs, and I also like to do a little segment on podcasts that I've been listening to or watching. And that's kind of about it. I often talk about techniques or challenges that I've come across in my knitting. In case you're curious, I'm wearing a I think it's called Girl's Best Friend shawl by Isabel Kramer. And it's really, I didn't put the pom-poms, which belong here. I might put them, but I haven't done it yet. I've got... I made one, but it was so pathetic that I just couldn't bring myself to, I don't know, I'm not a great pom-pom maker, but I'm not sure I have enough of this color, so I think I might do it in brown. Anyway, that's for another day. I really enjoyed making this pattern. I mean, I recommend it highly. I did a DK version, so it's a pretty hefty, large shawl. I think in fingering weight it would be really nice as well, which is what it calls for. I did it mostly in Lisu DK by Julie Asselin. I mean, I can't recommend that yarn more. It's just a beautiful, beautiful yarn to work with. I also used, I think this is Eco Andean, but I forget who made it. Anyway, it's sort of a more rustic yarn, the brown. But the rest is all Lisu DK. Anyway, so and I got this thing from Espace Tricot. And well, they're not selling them anymore, I don't think, but I grabbed it a couple of years ago. I don't use it very often, but it kind of works for this. So just getting right on it, I'm going to look at my show notes for a second. By the way, I think I'm going to add, and you'll have seen it at the beginning of this podcast, I'm going to put back the original theme video or whatever, opening video of my dog Monty, who is right here beside me. Say hi, Monty. Oh, he looks like a cockatiel sometimes. He's like, I was sleeping. Why are you waking me up again? Anyway, he's an old dude. He's like 12 and he's deaf. But anyway, he's a sweetie. Anyway, that's the little opening video is something my daughter Erica did, and she watched my podcast the last time, which she doesn't always watch it, and that's fine. She's a busy girl, and she's over in London right now, living in London. She's a musician and actress, and makes money as a receptionist, which she hates. But she watched my podcast, and I was very, very pleased. And not only did she watch it, but she live tweeted it. I'm not sure I knew that was a thing, but so she was watching and knitting, because she does do a bit of knitting. And every time she thought of something, if she saw something on the video she thought was funny or liked or whatever, she would write a tweet about it. So if you want to go back and check her out, I will put her her name under here on Twitter, so you can find her. And it was quite fun. If you saw the podcast, it makes a lot more sense what she wrote. So it was fun. So I am going to move on to what I am about to talk about today. I have an FO, and I'm really pleased with it. This is a class. This I did in a class recently with Espace Tricot at Espace Tricot, which is my local yarn store just up the street. I'm very happy to be that close to the store, although it can be rather tempting at times. And most of my stash is from that store, which I'm trying to knit down now. So I didn't buy any of this yarn at Espace Tricot, but I did take the class there, and these are the Hearth Slippers by Diana Walla. She is one of my favorite designers, I think. This is only my second one of her patterns, but I did the Sundaughter sweater by her a couple years ago, and it's really I think it's my favorite sweater, really. Maybe my favorite. Well, definitely my favorite sweater. I have shawls that I love equally, but that sweater fits me. It's comfortable. It's beautiful. I only wish I had done it in a more practical color. I did it in a light pink with a gray yoke, gray color work yoke. Maybe it should have been the opposite way, because I loved that pink, and I bought it on Barrett Wool Co. because I fell in love with the color. Anyway, it's a great sweater. It's just that it stains, and I'm not quite sure how to get out those little marks, because it's not washable wool. So anyway, these are the Hearth Slippers, and look how pretty they are. I'm just so thrilled. I was originally making them for myself, but I ended up giving them to my good friend who's now who gets very cold feet. She lives upstairs from me. She's Maureen. She's a sweetheart, and she gets very cold feet. So I thought, she could probably really use these, and I'm going to make myself another pair, which is fun because it was really a fun knit. I can't recommend it highly enough. I think that the way because you're using two yarns everywhere, even on the bottom, it makes a very cushy bottom, and you're supposed to put leather, or you can, and it's optional. You can sew leather patches here, which I guess could be like a non-slip thing, but also they probably keep the, well, protect the yarn a little bit from wearing out. But anyway, I didn't put them because Maureen didn't really think she wanted them. So anyway, so that's that. Oh, by the way, these two colors, the gray and the blue, are from Briggs & Little. They're Tuffy yarn, which is 80% wool and 20% nylon. And it is a pretty rustic yarn. It's pretty tough. I used the blue from my husband's cardigan that I made for him. It's called the Cathedral Grove cardigan by Jose Paquin, and you can find that on another podcast or on my Ravelry page. Yeah, so I used the blue from that, and I had bought the gray in case I ran out of blue because I thought I might run short. I didn't, in fact, run short at all. I had plenty left. So I had a whole ball of the gray and quite a bit of a whole ball of blue. So I made these. I still have some left over, but sadly not enough to make a whole pair of slippers. So the next pair I might have to buy yarn for. Oh, and the pink is, I wrote it down, New England Highland, which is a yarn that my friend Linda gave me because I think she had it in her stash. I'm not sure. But yeah, she decided to give it to me, which I thought was really sweet because it works perfectly on this, for this project. So that's that. It really was a quick knit too. I mean, yeah, it's just great. It was fun. If you've never done color work before, this is a pretty good way to start. It has an afterthought heel, which I've done before. It was pretty straightforward. I didn't have any issues with it. And then you just Kitchener the toe and the heel. Yeah, it's worth it going to the effort of making these, especially if you happen to have the requisite worsted to Aran weight yarn in your stash. Hello, I'm interrupting this program, my own program, to bring you this little tutorial, which I meant to do during the filming the other day and I totally forgot. This is my second pair of Hearth Slippers. I wanted to show you a little thing I found from watching Diana Walla knit. I used to do stranded color work by holding each yarn in one hand, like so. So I would be throwing with one hand and continental knitting with the other hand. However, I found that the tension was a bit problematic. I was really, it never seemed quite right. It was often too tight, and I was always having to pull the yarn. I mean, you have to be careful about that with any method, but it was, I found, particularly difficult. So when I saw Diana Walla knitting her way, and what they do is, I believe they pick up the yarn in both yarns, okay, with the pinky, and then put their middle finger through the two yarns, and then the pointer finger underneath both yarns, okay? So this is for when you want one yarn to be dominant. So in this case, I want the pink yarn to be dominant. So I'm going to keep that yarn sort of at the bottom of the two yarns, okay? And then when I'm knitting, sorry about there's some noise because I've got, the other thing I'm doing is I'm using 2 circular needles to do this, which I find quite handy for this type of thing. But anyway, it makes a bit of noise because there's 2 sets of needles. Anyway, I will go on. So the first, okay, let me just get set up here. It's a bit awkward. So I'll do a couple of them. Okay, so there, did my first stitch, and that is, I grabbed that first stitch with like kind of underneath the other one, and then I take the second stitch, the gray, and pull it over. So I'm knitting it Yeah, on top of the other one. So this one is always underneath. The pink one I'll always grab from underneath, okay? The next stitch is, pink. So I'll take that from underneath. And this one is gray. So it's not usually quite this awkward, but because I'm sort of crouching and stuff, it takes a little getting used to no matter what. But I do find that in the end, I have a better product because I don't have as many, I don't have as much trouble with the tension. It seems to take care of itself. Maybe because the left hand is looser. Anyway, continental knitting tends to be looser. Oh, I did one too many gray. So I'll take the pink. I do have to readjust my hands sometimes because I think my little pinky doesn't hold the yarn quite firm enough. So takes a little getting used to. But when I'm going great guns, it works really very well. So I hope you can still see what I'm doing here, because I have to also look at my knitting. So gray and then pink. The way she does, Diana Walla works, it looks just so smooth and easy that I just really wanted to try it. Okay, so that's my little tutorial. So what you do is, again, you pick up both yarns with your pinky, just as though you were just taking one of the yarns as normal, and then divide the two with your middle finger, and then have them both over your left finger. So that keeps them a little bit apart when you're trying to pick the yarn. This is where I really understand why they call continental picking, because you're really picking which yarn you're going for. Okay, so I probably didn't do that correctly, but I can always go back. So yeah, here's the Hearth Slippers by Diana Walla. I'm totally changed up the color scheme from what she shows you in the pattern, but I'm using some scrap yarn, so I really wanted to use up what I had, and I think I'm going to have enough. So I have this dark gray, which is a Briggs & Little Heritage 100% wool. This is the leftover from my other Hearth Slippers, which is a Briggs & Little Tuffy 80/20. And this is the, what's it called? Heritage, I think it's, well, not Heritage. I forget what this one's called. But anyway, those are the three. Oh, I'm also probably using the dark blue that I have left over from my other Hearth Slippers. So I'm not quite sure where I'll put it, but it'll be a fun project. Okay, happy knitting, and back to the rest of the video. I'm always trying to get people to knit down their stash. Yeah, I don't know why, but I'm trying to knit down my stash, so maybe that's why I'm trying to get other people to do it. I don't know. I just think I'm thinking of all that yarn that's just sitting in people's houses and taking up space, and and then people keep buying more. People can't help themselves. I know, I'm bad. I can see myself buying more yarn before the year is out, even though my birthday is supposed to be when I'm getting back. I can buy more yarn. I mean, I've cheated a few times this year, but I've been pretty good about knitting my my stash down. I just wish I was a faster knitter, that's all. Okay, I do want to talk to you about, shoot, 1 second. Hi there, so I'm back. Yeah, I think I mentioned a couple of episodes ago that, I hope I didn't talk about this at all in the last episode, but this pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks, which I made toe up instead of cuff down, and I used a different heel, but I used the pattern, the stitch pattern from Hermione's Everyday Sock, which you can find on Ravelry. And this is Artful Belle, yarn. I think this is like a one-of-a-kind colorway, so I won't even bother trying to remember the name of it. And this is like their crimson, maybe, not sure. But I really like their yarn for socks because it seems to wear pretty well. I have a few pairs made out of it, and I mean, the ones that I've had a couple, maybe 3 years, starting to show their wear. But I have socks, which I'm going to show you, that I've only worn about a handful of times. Little cough there. And they are wearing out already. So Artful Bell, I recommend it highly. So what I did, I think I told you about this. One of the socks turned out to be too big for me. And when I found that, and it was the first sock that I did, which was this one, it was too big, and I thought, well, I'll give it to Erica. I've already told this part of the story. My daughter. So I saved it for her. I saw her last summer. I knitted up the second one in time to give it to her in July, give them to her in July. And the second one turned out to be too small for her. So I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? And I decided, well, what the heck? I'm going to take them home and keep them. She didn't mind. And I cut in the middle of this sock. Yeah, the first sock. Here it is where I did it. I can see where the join is. So I just snipped a little piece here and unraveled around, and I cut out, well, I unraveled about 1 inch of the sock, and then I Kitchener stitched it back up. Well, that was a bit of an ordeal because the first time around I made a couple of mistakes and it looked like crap, so I had to take it all out. And of course, every time that I would do that, I had to like put it down, walk away from the project, do something else for a couple of weeks, and then I'd go back to it. So it took me a while, but I did it. And now you can't really see where I did that. I mean, if you know, a man on a galloping horse could never tell. You could probably tell I can tell if I look closely, but you know, whatever, it's pretty good. And now it kind of fits me. I mean, they're both actually slightly loose. And I think it's because I'm just a loose knitter. I'm becoming more and more a loose knitter. I'm pretty sure that all my socks I knit at 56 stitches, and I don't have such a small foot. So, I mean, I guess it's for a kind of a narrow foot, but not that narrow. And 56 stitches on a 2.25 millimeter needle. And these ones are on the loose side for me, and I don't really get what the difference is. I'm using the same Artful Bell on other socks I've knitted, and they fit me much better. So I think I've just become a very loose knitter, and that theme comes back later on in the podcast when I talk about other things. Anyway, since I'm on the subject of socks, I thought I would show you this sad reality that these socks, which I knit this year, I think I started them before Christmas last year, but I didn't really finish them until after Christmas, and they're already showing their wear here. And I'm not going to talk about I believe it's this yarn here that's really the culprit, because it's the toe or the heel part is still intact. It's the body of the sock that is wearing out, and it's because it's cashmere and it doesn't have that much. Oh, here's an even bigger hole in this one. Yeah, this one's pretty sad. So yeah, I just want to warn you against using MCN for socks, because I just don't think it's strong enough. 10% nylon is not enough. So it's a sad state of affairs, because you know, you spend a lot of time knitting and then this happens. I may try to do some darning. I don't know. I might try. I'm not sure how to do it on this one. But if I did, I would use maybe if I have some left of this, I think this is yarn ink, that purple. I think I might have a bit left, and I can maybe darn it up with that. But anyway, I've got 2 or 3 pairs that are, you know, springing leaks, and I'm really getting upset because there's so much knitting. But anyway, it's all knitting. We love knitting, right? That's what they say. Okay, so yeah, so that's that. Now, I want to tell you about my birds of a feather, which is coming along, although I ran into an issue just last night when I was knitting, and I guess I was a little tired, and yeah, I screwed up something, and now I'm thinking of going back, but I don't know if I want to go back. Ugh, I'm so close to the end, you know? Anyway, here we go. This is it. It is so gorgeous. I love it. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? And it is going to be an enormous shawl. Well, not really. You know, the thing is, it's long, but it's so light because of the mohair that you don't really think of it as a huge shawl. I mean, I don't think it will be too big, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be super bulky around my neck, you know, compared to some things that I have. For instance, this shawl here, it's not great for wearing like a scarf because it's just too bulky. This one is just going to be super cozy. Anyway, oh geez, I'm all, got myself tangled up in my earring. Hold on a second. Holy mackerel, that could be bad. No, it's fine. There we go. I'm at the border. This is the border. And I got the great zany idea to double, instead of doing what the pattern says, which is to alternate, I guess it's sort of stripes of the main, well, of the, what am I trying to say? The fingering weight yarn and the mohair. I decided to double strand it just to see, just for fun. No one's going to really notice it, I'm realizing now, but I'll know it's there, and it makes it, I'm just sort of sick of working with mohair by itself. It's not an enjoyable process for me. It's laborious because, you know, I don't know why, it's just harder. So I decided to try this method, and and since I'm using 3 yarns instead of 2, the next, I've already started working with the Jade Sapphire for the alternate rows where I'm striping. The Jade Sapphire is this white-ish, I guess, creamy color. And it's called Sylph. It's cashmere and linen, which is actually a really nice blend. It's very, very, very nice. And the rest of this is La Bien-Aimée yarn, their mohair and their BFL. I guess it's a BFL sock yarn. Blue-faced luster, BFL. Anyway, I just really like those 2 colors together. This has kind of got a brownish tinge to it, brown and pink in there. Anyway, I'm really loving it, but I'll be glad when it's over. Anyway, my mistake. See there, in the pattern, not to give away too much, but in the pattern you're supposed to, I'm not sure if I just lost power or not. I think I did. I think we lost power. Oh well, I guess we're okay without it. Yeah, so the edge here, I messed up. As you can see, there's these big holes here, and I think I forgot to drop a yarn over, and now it's looking very droopy. Oh well. So I don't know. I think I'm going to have to go back because it looks like crap, which is so annoying. Oh well. That's okay. It's all just knitting, right? And as the more time goes on and you realize that you want things a certain way, the more you realize that just ripping stuff out is part of the process, and it's okay. Because it has to be done sometimes. I'm not going to leave it looking like that. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, I'll have to rip back. Okay, so next, I will talk about this is my big project right now, which is my Birkin by Caitlin Hunter. And I love it. I'm in a love-hate relationship with this pattern. Partly because of my own stupidity, because I wasn't getting gauge, and thus the neck is too gappy. When I try it on, it just like sticks up. So that's really irritating. The shoulders, I think after blocking, they will be okay, but they are a tiny bit tight right now. We'll see. I think it'll be okay. And then the rest of it, I had to decrease in the body instead of increase, because I was thinking it's just going to be way too big. And then I'm basically just going to go down straight. I mean, the shaping that they asked you to do in the pattern, I think, is like an A-line created by going up needle sizes, which I'm not crazy about that idea, because I'm already getting less than gauge. I mean, that's one reason not to like the idea. But also, I mean, going up a needle size or two, that's really going to change the gauge and the look of the fabric. So I don't really see that as a great option for shaping. But anyway, whatever. I know other people have used it and it's worked out, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm basically going down straight after decreasing, I think it's 8 stitches on the side, because I just don't think I need all that width down there. And I got tired of knitting the body, so I'm now knitting one of the sleeves. So it's coming along. At least this way I'm not going to get on Sleeve Island, as my friend Françoise at the yarn at Espace Tricot said. Yeah. So yeah, this is Brooklyn Tweed Loft, which is a really nice yarn. I have to say, it's very cozy. And although it's rustic, it's quite soft. The only thing that worries me is that some spots the yarn gets very thin, because it's kind of a thick, thin yarn. It's a woolen spun yarn, and so I'm a little worried that some places will end up being a little problematic, but like they might wear out or something. But on those spots, I thought I might do a little duplicate stitch over them to reinforce them. Anyway, I'll see. And then, so I used the loft for the gray as well as the blue. You see this gray? It's a very light gray. And this pink is, it might be Sweet Georgia. No. It's Fino. I think it's maybe Julie Aslan's Fino. Yeah, that I had left over from something. And then this light pink is Tuku wool. Is that it? Oh, and the green is Sweet Paprika yarn. That's a company here in Montreal. And it's I think it's a rustic single, what do you call it? Fingering weight yarn. No, I don't think it's superwash. So yeah, none of it is going to be superwash, which I'm trying to avoid these days. I'm not sure what I'll do about socks, but for other projects, I'm going to really try to avoid superwash wool, because it just seems to me counterintuitive to be knitting out of a natural fiber but will never like break down into the environment in a safe way because of the processing. Yeah, so that's my goal from now on to avoid. rustic yarns, but or sorry, superwash yarns, but you know, I know I'll probably make exceptions, but try not to. I have I want to, yeah, I'll talk about what's in my queue later, but I do have some superwash yarn in my stash that needs to be used up, and I have a project in mind for some of it. Okay, so what do we got? Oh yeah, so the challenges of this, yeah. I've talked about that before. Yeah, if I do have to undo the top, I don't know if I've ever, well, okay, I have done that before because I did it with my husband's old sweater that I talked about in another episode. It's a sweater I made him back in 1984 when we were engaged. And it wasn't made out of like a Icelandic yarn. I think that was very popular back then. And but I had made the neck too tight, so I decided recently when I got, you know, after, because I had a little bit more knowledge about these things, I decided to undo the neck, and I just let it, I didn't even replace it, I just took out the ribbing, which was a folded over ribbing. So it was quite, you know, it was tight and uncomfortable, so I took that out, and then now he can wear it. And so it's just kind of a little bit rolled, but it doesn't really roll that much. So I probably wouldn't do that with this, but I don't know what I'd do, but I think I will take out the ribbing and either redo it in a smaller needle, or maybe I'll decrease a little bit here and then do it. I'm not quite sure. I might have to get some help from the lovely Françoise or the lovely Mona over at Espace Tricot. They're always so helpful there. Anyway, this pattern doesn't have any decreases through the color work, which is, except in like just before the main part of the color work, like after the green. And so there's a big increase row here and a big increase row here, and you know, one or two back here. But in the color work section, which goes over your shoulders, there's no increases. So that's what I found kind of problematic. I went up quite a few sizes of needle to make it work, and well, and also to keep my color work from being too tight. And I think it's gonna be okay. It's not perfect by any means, but I think I'm really gonna love it once it's done. I'm really looking forward to it. But oh my god, I've never done a fingering weight sweater. It is endless. So much knitting. It's really something. Sorry, my cough is really annoying today. I don't know what the cough is, but I've had it for years. It's just I think I might be allergic to something, but I haven't figured out what. That's what the doctor suggested. It could be I'm allergic to milk solids or something. Or I don't know, like, but I get too much. Who knows? Or it could be maybe something in the environment. My doctor told me that people who have nagging coughs like mine can go out to the country and realize and find that their cough disappears, which I found interesting. I don't know if I've ever noticed that or not. I guess I don't go out to the country as much as I could or should. Anyway, so moving on from that. Oh, I wanted to talk to you about my one project that I had in my queue, which I've now decided to abandon, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'll show it to you. It's called the Sweet Vicious Cowl. Well, actually, I was going to make it a tee. I was going to make a t-shirt or, you know, a tee, not a tee, a tank, kind of a tank top, a shell they call it, I guess. And it's made in this kind of lovely stitch pattern. I don't know what she calls this, but she kind of invented it or adapted it from another one. I don't remember the story exactly, but I was kind of intrigued by the pattern, and I just wanted to try it. So instead of just doing instead of doing a swatch, because this problem with the swatch is I worried about undoing the swatch. I don't have enough yarn to not use the yarn that I was going to use for the swatch, you see. So I would have had to make the swatch, and then I would probably have to undo it because I would need the yarn, and this is double stranding it, you know, with mohair, and I just thought, ugh, I didn't want to do that. So I decided to try to make the cowl, because she has a cowl and a shell made out of this, and I just don't think this is going to be a useful item, basically. I don't know, it's like too light. Oh, there goes my power back on. Wow, it's very bright now. I'm going to turn one of those. Okay, how about that? Is that better? Yeah, so I don't think I will end up using this too much, and I think I would rather undo it, and that is going to be hard enough, and use it for something else. I think what I'll end up doing is double stranding it for, I don't know, like a hat or a cowl. I don't know. Not quite sure. But I don't know. I decided that I wasn't crazy about doing the stitch, even though I was intrigued in the first place. It's very finicky because you have to use sometimes you're double stranding, sometimes you're single stranding each one and carrying the yarn, and it's just a lot. But anyway, I think she's so inventive, Stephanie Earp, who did this design. I'm always intrigued by her designs, but on the other hand, I think that they might not suit me particularly quite often. Like she's a completely different body type than I am, so naturally, that makes sense. That's the things that she designs. She designs with herself kind of in mind, I think. I mean, that would be normal. And it just ends up being that they wouldn't really necessarily suit me. So anyway, that's an unfortunate thing, but at least I gave it a try, and I have decided to let it go. Hey there. Oh, I forgot to mention that this shawl back here is my 3-color cashmere shawl, and I must say I love it. And it's really great for this time of year. Can you see it? Yeah, the colors aren't really coming through. This is like mostly purples and some green. Love it. Very long, but you can just wrap it around like a really long scarf kind of thing, and it's just super cozy. Okay, that one, this 3-color cashmere is by Joji Locatelli, in case you're curious. Okay, so there we go. We've done the Sweet Vicious, and I'm going to move on from there. Oh yeah, so I want to talk to you a little bit about what's in my queue. I've been thinking about doing the Zweig. Oh wow, one more time. Hi, back again. Yes, I was thinking of doing the Zweig's sweater by another Caitlin Hunter pattern, and I think everybody's pretty much familiar with it, but I'll find it on my iPad to show you a picture. And it's I don't know, I'm very intrigued by it. However, oh, here's the picture of the Sweet Fishes that I was thinking of making. Oh, can you see that? Oh dear. Maybe if I turn off this light, will that help at all? There we go. There. Yeah. Anyway, it's nice, but I decided against it. So the other, okay, what's it? The Zweig. Here it is. Of course, everybody knows what that kind of knows what that looks like, I think. Hey, there's been some gorgeous patterns out there, And I suddenly got the idea that I could use up this beautiful Sweet Georgia merino silk fine. So it's 50% merino, 50% silk. And this is just, I used some of it in this 3-color cashmere. And I just love the color. There's like a sheen to it, which you probably aren't seeing. It's in the mist colorway, and it's just wonderful. And there's this yarn. I don't know if there's enough contrast there, but it might really be nice for the yoke. And be pretty subtle, but there's so much going on in the yoke that it might not be such a bad thing to have not that much contrast. And there's quite a bit of purple in this colorway here, which is a La Bien-Aimée. It's a single ply. I don't remember. I guess it's merino. I don't really remember, but yeah. So I thought that might be a good combo, but the only thing is I need at least 2 more of this color because I only have 2 and a little bit left. Anyway, that could be for some future time because I'm not sure I'm ready to do another fingering weight sweater for a little while. I need a little bit of a break from that. So we'll see. But here's another thing that I'm going to make in the same colorway. Basically same colorway. Debbie Bliss Rialto DK. I'm going to make the bear sweater. No, teddy sweater. Do I have that in here? Let me see. Yes. Oh my goodness. I just think it's the cutest thing. Do you see that? It's not... Yeah. Hope I didn't show you too much of the pattern there. Don't think so. But that's adorable. And I'm going to make it out of this and this. And I have a little bit of black for the face. This is a yarn I got from Linda as well. This purpley color. I believe it's, does it have a name or just a number? No, it's got just a color number, 23052. It's 100% merino wool, extra fine superwash, which is great for a child's sweater. So, and it's in my stash, so I'm going to use that up. I made a sweater for myself in it, and I still have like 4 balls left, I think. So it'll be a good use of that sweater and get that yarn. And I'll give it to my newest great nephew, who is, his name is Adonis, which I think I mentioned in my last podcast. And yeah, I may have already mentioned that whole thing in my last podcast, come to think of it. So, excuse me while I repeat myself. All right, so yeah, another pair of Hearth Slippers. Okay, I'm just noticing the time, which is running. I'm running out of it. I have to leave pretty soon to go to my friend's birthday party. So I am going to quickly finish this off. Oh, I was just trying to tell you the things that are in my queue. So quickly, the teddy sweater, which I already mentioned, Zweig maybe, but for a future time. Another pair of Hearth Slippers, definitely. I think I'm going to try and make those pretty quick because I need a pair of slippers. And a bulky worsted weight cardigan or sweater, I was thinking. I'm really looking for something quick because I want to have a garment off my needles in a pretty decently quick amount of time. And I am not a fast knitter, as I mentioned. Anyway, so that's it. But I want to also mention a couple of podcasts that I've been watching lately. Diana Walla's podcast, which, what does she call it now? Yeah, she calls it Paper Tiger. And she's got just a few episodes, but they're very good. And what I like about them, and I think my favorite podcasts are the ones that you learn a lot when you watch them. And she has a lot of interesting ideas about color work and a lot of experience. Of course, she does these great designs, but mostly she doesn't talk about her own designs. She talks about all kinds of things surrounding color work, Stranding and Norwegian color work, because she must have a Norwegian heritage. She certainly lived in Norway for a while. She lives in Montreal now, so that's kind of cool. And yeah, so I recommend her episodes, Paper Tiger. And on for audio podcasts, I've discovered Stuff You Should Know, which I mean, it's a pretty popular podcast, so you may have heard of it. But if you want to just listen to something and not have to worry about looking up from your work, I often listen to podcasts like that. So yeah, Stuff You Should Know. It's very entertaining. They just find a subject they're interested in and they research it and they tell you all about it. And they're very random. I mean, the last one I listened to was about yogurt. How does yogurt work? There was one, was Robin Hood a real person? You know, like totally random things. It's fun. So that's something you could check out. And the two guys that have the podcast they have a really cute dynamic, and I find it works very well. And of course, my old favorites, the Happier podcast and the Happier in Hollywood podcast. I've been watching those a lot, or listening to those, sorry. I guess I listen to a fair number of podcasts, but I also listen to books on tape through Audible. That's it, Audible. So that's something you could check out. They have great readers. They have actors who do the parts usually, and they do all the voices, and it's really fun to listen to. So if you haven't tried out audiobooks, that's definitely a thing to do. I recently listened to The Unquiet Dead by, goodness, her last name is Khan, Khan. She's a Canadian writer. Anyway, it's an excellent book. Check that out. Great and very well read. Okay, so I am sort of wrapping this up quickly. I hope I haven't forgotten anything, but I hope you've enjoyed this quick podcast. I think it's kind of quick. And I will see you next time with maybe a little bit more content. Who knows? Maybe I'll get my Birds of a Feather finished for you for the next time. I think I'll be able to. Fingers crossed. Thank you very much for watching. And oh, by the way, I've been writing in my blog quite a lot, so you can find me. The blog is called Vivian's Tranquil Garden. And when I say I've been writing quite a lot, maybe three times in the last couple weeks. And I really want to get back on that horse. I used to have a pretty regular blog, but then knitting got in the way or something. Well, lots of things got in the way. But I'm trying to get back into it because I really do like to write. Vivian's Tranquil Garden. Check that out. I will see you next time, and thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me talk about my favorite pastime, my favorite hobby and / obsession, and happy knitting. I hope you enjoy every project that you're working on, and we'll see you soon, probably in 2 weeks, but maybe sooner, who knows. Bye.